All right, I'm going to read from the Private Oral Exam Guide, Chapter 5, Cross-Country Flight Planning, Section H, Aeronautical Information Manual, page 5-59. What type of aeronautical lighting is a VASI? Visual Approach Slope Indicator. Visual Approach Slope Indicator, a VASI, is a system of lights so arranged to provide visual descent guidance information during the approach to a runway. The basic principle of VASI is that of color differential between red and white. Each light projects a beam of light having a white segment in the upper half and a red segment in the lower part of the beam. The light is a 2-bar. The lights in a 2-bar VASI will be as follows. Red over red, below glide path. Red over white, on glide path. White over white, above glide path. What is PAPI? P-A-P-I. The Precision Approach Path Indicator. PAPI uses light units similar to the VASI, but are installed in a single row of either 2 or 4 light units. These systems have an effective visual range of about 5 miles during the day and up to 20 miles at night. The row of light units are normally installed on the left side of the runway. 4 white lights, you're high more than 3.5 degrees. 3 white, 1 red, slightly high, 3.2 degrees. 2 white, 2 red, on glide path, 3 degrees. 1 white, 3 red, slightly low, 2.8 degrees. 4 red lights, low, less than 2.5 degrees. 3. What does the operation of airport rotating beacon during the hours of daylight indicate? In Class B, C, D, E surface areas, operation of the airport beacon during the hours of daylight often indicates that the ground visibility is less than 3 miles and or the ceiling is less than 1,000 feet. ATC clearance is in accordance with 14 CFR. Part 91 is required for landing, takeoff, and flight in traffic patterns. Pilots should not rely solely on the operation of the airport beacon to indicate if weather conditions are IFR or VFR. There is no regulatory requirement for daylight operations, and it is the pilot's responsibility to comply with proper pre-flight planning as required by 14 CFR Part 91. What are the 6 types of signs installed at airports? Mandatory instruction signs, red background, white inscriptions denotes an entrance to a runway, a critical area, or a prohibited area. A location sign, black background, yellow inscription, yellow border, do not have arrows, used to identify a taxiway or runway location, the boundary of a runway, or identify an ILS critical area. Direction sign, yellow background, black inscription, identifies the designation of the intersection taxiway leading out of an intersection that a pilot would expect to turn onto or hold short of. Designation area, yellow background, black inscription, and always contains arrows, provides information on locating runways, terminals, cargo areas, and civil aviation areas, etc. E, information sign, yellow background, black inscription, used to provide the pilot with information on areas that can't be seen from the control tower, applicable radio frequencies, and noise abatement procedures. F, runway distance remaining sign. Black background, white numeral inscription indicates the distance of the remaining runway in thousands of feet. What color are runway markings? Taxiway markings. Markings for runways are white. Markings for taxiway areas not intended for use by aircraft closed in hazardous area and holding positions, even if they were on the runway, are yellow. What airport marking aids will be used to indicate the following? Runway threshold markings. These come in 2 configurations. They either consist of 8 longitudinal stripes of uniform dimension disposed symmetrically about the runway center line, or the number of stripes is related to the runway width. A threshold marking helps identify the beginning of a runway available for landing. A displaced threshold. A threshold located at a point on the runway other than the designated beginning of the runway. Displaced threshold reduces the length of the runway available for landings. The portion of runway behind the displaced threshold is available for takeoffs in either direction. 10-foot wide white threshold bar is located across the width of a runway at the displaced threshold. White arrows are located along the center line of the area between the beginning of the runway and the displaced threshold. White arrowheads are located across the width of the runway just prior to the threshold bar. Runway hold position markings. For taxiways, these markings indicate where an aircraft is supposed to stop when it does not have clearance to proceed onto the runway. They are also installed on runways only if the runway is normally used by air traffic control for land hold short operation. They consist of 4 yellow lines, 2 solid and 2 dashed, spaced 6 inches apart and extending across the width of a taxiway or runway. Temporarily closed runways and taxiways provide a visual indication to pilots that a runway taxiway is temporarily closed. Yellow crosses are placed on the runway only at each end of the runway. Closed taxiways are blocked with barricades or may utilize a yellow cross at the entrance to the taxiway. Permanently closed runways and taxiways. For runways and taxiways which are permanently closed, the lighting circuits will be disconnected. The runway threshold, runway destination, and touchdown markings are obliterated, and yellow crosses are placed at each of the end of the runway and at 1,000-foot intervals. Number 7. What are the different methods a pilot may use to determine the proper runway and traffic pattern in use at an airport without operating control pattern? At an airport with a full or part-time FSS or full or part-time Unicom in operation, an advisory may be obtained which will usually include the wind direction and velocity, favored or designated runways, right or left traffic, altimeter setting, known traffic or NOTAMs, etc. B. At those airports where these services are not available, a segmented circle visual indicator system, if installed, is designated to provide traffic pattern information. Segmented circle system consists of the following components: the segmented circle, the wind direction indicator, a windsock cone or T, the landing direction indicator, a tetrahedron, and a landing strip indicator and traffic pattern indicators. Number 8. What is the standard direction of turns when approaching an uncontrolled airport for landing? When approaching for landing, all turns must be made to the left unless a traffic pattern indicator indicates that the turn should be made to the right. Number 9. What is considered standard for traffic pattern altitude? Unless otherwise established, 1,000 feet AGL is the recommended traffic pattern altitude. At most airports and military air bases, traffic pattern altitudes for propeller-driven aircraft generally extend from 600 feet to as high as 1,500 feet AGL. Also, traffic pattern altitudes for military turbojet aircraft sometimes extend up to 2,500 feet AGL. 7 minutes. Let's see where we're at. Yep, so I'll hold off right there. That is Chapter 5, Cross-Country Flight Planning. That is page 5-62. 5-62. We are in Section H, Aeronautical Information Manual. Alright, we'll hold up there on number 9. See ya.